Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Congress has now begun a bipartisan investigation into Trump Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
We're going to have an investigation. We're going to have a public hearing. We're going to put these folks under oath.
The issue stems from a September 2nd attack on a Venezuelan boat allegedly carrying narcotics. The Pentagon conducted a second strike because the first hit had failed to kill everybody on board. As reported by the Washington Post, Hegseth order on first Caribbean boat strike officials say, kill them all. As two men clung to a stricken burning ship targeted by SEAL Team 6, the Joint Special Operations Commander followed the Defense Secretary's orders to leave no survivors.
I agree that would be an illegal act.
That is a violation of the law of war. When people want to surrender, you don't kill them, and they have to pose an imminent threat. It's hard to believe that two people on a raft trying to survive would pose an imminent threat.
But that is the excuse given by Hegseth's Pentagon, an imminent threat. According to the Washington Post and briefing materials provided to the White House, the Joint Special Operations Commander, JSOC, reported that the double tap or follow-on strike was intended to sink the boat and remove a navigation hazard to other vessels, not to kill survivors, according to another person who saw the report. A similar explanation was given to lawmakers in two closed-door briefings, according to two congressional aides. Never mind the absurdity of the U.S. military's excuse, the follow-on strike on the initial survivors, recorded on video, was reportedly graphic. Quote, the two men were blown apart in the water, and if the video of the blast that killed the two survivors on September 2nd were made public, people would be horrified, said one person who watched the live feed. Republican Adam Kinzinger, a veteran of the Air Force who served 12 years in the U.S. House, believes this could become the Trump administration's biggest scandal.
When I was in officer training, one of the very first lessons we had was learning what is a legitimate target and what isn't, because we follow the law of armed conflict. And beyond that, there's a maritime law which governs even on top of what you saw with this boat strike. And so it is very clear that that second strike never should have happened. In fact, the military should have switched to a rescue pose and tried to rescue these men because they are no longer combatants. In fact, now they're distressed sailors. But there's a lot of potential culpability to go around. If I'm one of the operators that push the button, I'm going to be nervous. Obviously, the commander, I'm going to be nervous. And if I'm Pete Hegseth, I'm going to be nervous. The reason I think this could end up being one of the biggest scandals of this administration is because what is clear here is not that the DOD and Hegseth are not really arguing that that second strike never happened. They aren't arguing that. They're just saying that that second strike was legal and okay. And I don't know any situation, again, I'm going to leave my mind open for more facts, but I don't see any situation in which a second strike was warranted.
For his part, Donald Trump is trying to distance himself from the controversy by putting all of it on the shoulders of Pete Hegseth. Trump is also claiming Hegseth never gave an order to kill them all. Here's part of the reporting by NBC News.
The president told reporters Hegseth says he did not give that kill order.
He said he did not say that, and I believe him.
But lawmakers, including some Republicans, want to know if survivors were killed intentionally.
Obviously, if that occurred, that would be very serious, and I agree that would be an illegal act.
Military analysts and retired commanders say finding out the truth about the second strike and the orders that prompted it should be straightforward.
There's a film of the original strike. There has to be a film of the secondary strike because you always have those kind of cameras and painting with lasers for any time a bomb hits. And it's simply important to not only get Secretary Hegseth to testify before Congress, but also various other people. The individuals that were part of the Special Operations Command that were involved in this incident, the trigger pullers, Admiral Halsey, who, as you know, put in his retirement paper after disagreements with the administration, his lawyer, who was evidently, by reports, pushed to the side by the civilian lawyers within DOD. These would all be individuals who could testify as to what happened.
At the moment, Secretary Hegseth, who has admitted through the years to alcohol abuse and paid tens of thousands of dollars to settle a claim against him for alleged rape, Well, Hegseth is responding to the boat attack controversy with this.
Hegseth called the story fabricated and derogatory and made light of it Sunday night by posting a pretend children's book cover depicting an armed turtle firing on drug boats. President Trump was asked Sunday night if he thought a follow-on strike like that would be legal.
I wouldn't have wanted that, not a second strike. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine, and if there were two people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
What is happening in the larger picture, say analysts, is even more pressure now on members of the U.S. military.
From my perspective, it places service members who must refuse illegal or unlawful orders in an impossible position because they're caught between their legal obligation, their moral conscience, which hasn't been discussed all that much, and the pressure of civilian authority.
Members of Congress in both parties say all of this will be part of the investigation. And a few lawmakers have already pointed out that if the evidence is clear that Secretary Hegseth broke the law or committed a war crime, Congress has the power to impeach him. Cabinet officials, like the president, can be impeached for committing a high crime or misdemeanor with a trial for removal in the U.S. Senate. And by all accounts, murdering defenseless people, even if they were previously enemy combatants, is a crime. And lawmakers in both parties say the evidence against Hegseth so far is alarming and disgusting.
You cannot ever give military the thing of like saying just kill everybody, because there are always circumstances, and I say this as a military member, that could pop up in which a legitimate target stops being a legitimate target. And that is when they are injured, when they're hurt, if they surrender. All of that is a situation in which the military can no longer continue to strike or kill somebody.
By the way, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem is facing potential criminal contempt charges after defying the orders of a federal judge.
Department of Justice has revealed that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem made the final decision not to comply with a federal judge's order earlier this year to stop those deportation flights of alleged Venezuelan gang members. The disclosure comes as Judge James Boasberg seeks to revive criminal contempt proceedings against Trump administration officials who authorized the flights. The Justice Department argued the decision was lawful and consistent with its interpretation of the court's order, but Judge Boasberg said deportees likely did not receive due process.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular was from Eric, who wrote, Kristi Noem should be sent to Nicaragua prison for her disobedience. I hear you. I look forward to reading your comments about Defense Secretary Hegseth being accused of war crimes by Democrats and Republicans. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.